Hello, everybody, and welcome to Urban Matters BMG. We have Pastor Jack on the mic
Hey, how you doing?
again, and he said he was going to come back and visit us. We ran into a little bit of discrepancies, but we got it figured out. We got it rescheduled, and we have him again on the mic,
Yeah.
going hot. He's going hot right now, y'all. So y'all say hello to Pastor Jack, and we want to
Hey,
thank Pastor Jack for joining us today.
thank you, Clem.
And we appreciate you coming back again. And we just want to hear from you. You know, we want to hear from you, and we want to get all juicy details and the experience that you had with your election win. So
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
be so cool. And we can't wait to hear from the. But we're going to bring it in. We're going to bring in the intro real quick, Pastor. And then we're going to make it happen.
Okay. Hey.
All right. We got Pastor Jack in the building. And so, Pastor Jack,
Yes, sir.
let's hear from you.
Okay.
How just give us how and when and did you have any increment that you were not going to win the
Oh
election?
well, yeah. There's always a chance. I mean, you can never take anything for granted. So whenever people would ask me how I thought it was going or how I felt about it, I would always say, "Well, I'm cautiously optimistic." I
Gotcha.
feel like we've done some good work here.
Yes,
I
sir.
feel like the city's doing well. But you can always lose. If you're in an election, you could always lose. So what I would tell them is I'm just going to keep running hard until I break the tape, and that's what we did. And I feel like we ran a good race. I had a lot of great people that were helping me, encouraging me, and but right up to election night, I wasn't sure, and my family was all over, and we had our cell phones out on the looking at the Polk County Supervisor of Elections, and we were obviously very relieved and happy when we saw the results. So, big win. Glad it's all behind me now, and looking forward to the next 3 years. So,
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I want to show you something real quick, Pastor Jack. Let me see if I can get it up here.
okay,
Let's see here. We can get it up. All right, I think I got it now. Let's see. And speaking of the final results
yeah,
of the election, right?
yeah,
Take a look at this chart that I compile from the
okay,
numbers. Okay?
okay.
Take a look at this chart. Let's see if we can blow it up for you. Okay. Let me see if
So
I can blow it up.
you're gonna have to explain to me what I'm looking at, I think, because
Okay.
I'm
I will do that.
all right.
Okay. Here's a chart, and we're looking at, as you can see in the blue.
Yeah,
See, if we come up here where we see the party, right? You
right.
see my do you see can you see my
Yeah,
mouse?
I got Democrat, non-party affiliated, and Republican.
Republicans, right. There
Yeah.
you go. So then you come down here, and so you can kind of see some of the numbers.
Hmm.
1549. But if you look at the bottom of this chart, I don't really have it showing now, but this is how many Democrats you had: 1549, 542, and then 1110. And then in your non-party affiliations, this is what I really wanted to point out. Okay, here's the Republicans in the red, right?
Yeah.
So you received how many votes?
Is that 2029? That's what
No,
I'm
you didn't.
seeing.
You didn't. That's how many. Look
Is
at a chart.
registered.
Okay, this is
Okay.
people registered.
Okay.
Right. There you go. So if you look here at 2,900, right?
Yeah.
So and you take the 426.93, that's roughly about 3,000 Republicans, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you only got 1,300 something votes.
Right.
So that
Yeah.
means over half of your base did not even participate in this election.
Well, and you know what, Clem? Here's the thing. I think that by the numbers, there's almost 10,000 registered voters in the city of Lake Wales eligible to vote in
Wow.
a municipal election, and the turnout for this one was like 2,300 or something like that.
Correct.
It was like 23%, and that's actually pretty good.
Right.
In the last 2 or 3 municipal elections, our turnout levels have been between 20 and 25%. And when you compare that to other municipalities, that's pretty high. But you're right, it's unfortunate that, 3/4 of our folks don't vote.
That is crazy. And then
Yeah.
think about it. This is how close it could have possibly been. And
Yeah.
so now I got to beat up on Curtis too,
Okay.
because look at the blue columns over here.
Right.
You see those?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I got to beat up on him, and then I got to beat up on you. Look in the middle
Okay.
right here. Look in the green.
Yes.
Nobody engaged these folks.
So how many, Clem, which one is, what's the small, like, just going in the green? Is the small lowest bar the actual, because I can't see on the bottom. Are
Okay.
these the actual votes that
Those
were
are non-party affiliations in the green. You
right? But
have over almost 2,000 non-party MPA
okay,
who don't even go, who stay in the middle.
right.
So
Are the so
I'm
the
trying.
three different bars are the three different precincts or what?
No, that is. Hold on, let me see. I got it right here. I forgot what we put down at the bottom. That is okay. So go to your race codes right here. See, we broke it up
Okay.
into
Oh, I see.
codes.
Okay. All right.
Right. So you have 1,500 black,
Uh-huh.
right? Because the number 3 is at the bottom. So your
Got it.
number
Got
3
it.
is over.
Right.
Okay. Over here in the middle, you have 542 at number 4. That's Hispanics. That's over 500 Hispanics. And then number 5 in the third blue column is your white, not Hispanics.
Okay. Okay. And that's the same for all three different.
Same for all of them. Same for
Okay.
all of them. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, so right here, like let's look at the Republicans right here. You can see you have 426 Hispanic Republicans,
Okay. All right.
but you only have 93 that are registered as black Republicans.
Okay. All right. Got it. All right. I
So
understand better.
just some little numbers for you to kind of, you know, give you an idea of if you run next time, some of your base that you could possibly be bringing over
Sure.
onto your
What would,
side.
man, I tell you, it would be interesting too
Because
if not
listen,
all.
if Curtis would have did this, he
Mhm.
probably would have beat you.
Mhm.
If he would have engaged the green people here, the non-party affiliated, he
Yeah.
probably would have beat you. If he could have found out some way to embrace their message and embrace their agendas, he probably could have made it a pretty tight race.
Could maybe it would be interesting, I think, if we could to find out how the actual people that voted broke down on those too. So I don't know
Is
whether
that
we
we'll
can.
have that. We'll be bringing that
Okay.
up. We'll probably look into that data, and we'll have that data for you going forward in the
Sure.
future.
Well,
Definitely,
I'll tell you,
definitely.
it's
So yeah,
yeah, that's always the challenge in when you're running is trying to get trying to engage people. And I'll tell you this year, doing the municipal elections right after a general election that dominated for a whole year, I think people were struggling with some election fatigue. They were
yeah,
tired. I mean, I put my signs out in January and
absolutely.
had people calling me telling me to take my signs down because the elections were over because they didn't even know a municipal election was taking place.
Wow,
So
wow.
so it's hard to re-engage people after they've been through that kind of a
Yeah,
cycle.
yeah. It is a lot. It is a lot of political bizarreness and deliriousness that's going on in the country right now. It's just,
Well,
I mean, you got people out here there. You got all type of what do you call it? Political violence now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's I've never witnessed this ever in any type of politics.
Well, you
Like
saw
we
where the
literally
governor, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go.
No. You saw where the governor of Pennsylvania, the governor's mansion was firebombed this
So,
last week.
right,
Mhm.
right. What about the burning of the Teslas and the
Yeah, yeah,
targeting Tesla owners, targeting Tesla dealership? That's madness.
yeah, yeah.
That's madness. But I got to talk to you about one thing too, Pastor Miller Jack.
Okay.
I was looking at some of your Jack Hilligoss on the issues cards you had, and on
Yeah.
economic development. Of course, I always say, I'm all about economic development. So
Yeah.
okay, it says the median income in Lake Wales has lagged for decades, right? That's what you
Yes.
spoke to in your post right here in your bullet point. And we
Right.
need to attract a variety of businesses and support growth of those already here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So let's talk about workforce readiness.
Mhm.
And I want to know, what are your plans to engage the younger workforce, say the 25 and under folks?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm gonna do a chart, and I'm gonna try to pull some data to see how many folks you have voting for you under 25 and under. How many of those folks are registered or not registered? And then
Mhm.
how many do you think that you could really get on your political base?
Yeah.
And so when they do that, when the young folks start engaging with the local politics, like, are they workforce ready?
Yeah.
And are we going to have businesses in place, right? Are we going to
Mhm.
be bringing in part of this growth? Are we going to be bringing in businesses that maybe can pay a higher wage with a higher skill?
Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of these young folks, they're not like us and their parent and my parents and all of the, and we know that Lake Wales is somewhat kind of behind the bar when it
Yeah.
comes to, you know, innovative, newer type approaches.
Mhm.
So what if you are trapped as mayor and you have to speak to that and you have to deal with those types of issues on the table?
In other words, what are the different ways I
What
think we
what
can
is your
go?
what is your like what is your agenda for that? What I'm asking for is, like, what explain to me, how would you address that
Okay.
issue?
Well,
Saying, for instance, we want more than a little bit of industry jobs. I mean,
mhm.
that's cool, but
Mhm.
I'm also be posting some data on some of the unemployment numbers, which we can get that right from the census uh,
Sure.
bureaus and whatnot. So,
Sure.
but we got a lot of unemployed folks. We got a lot of jobless people, and that affects economy, right?
Sure.
Would you agree?
Sure. Oh yeah,
That
absolutely.
affects. So the more people we get skilled
Mhm.
in the workforce, and the more jobs we can bring here to make work available to our younger and 25 and under folks.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you bring it up because I was just at an EDC meeting this morning where we heard a report from our EDC director that they'll soon be launching with Lake Wales High School a young entrepreneurs program. So that's one grassroots thing that can be done and encouraged by local government and local NGOs. How do we begin working with young people as young as freshmen in high school to begin to get them to think about being entrepreneurs? How do you start your own business? How do you write a business plan? Where do you go for funding and startup capital? Get them in relationships with other people that have done it. Frankly, I think that's the best thing is if we have some entrepreneurs have already shown success and skill, acumen at that, who are willing to go back and partner and mentor young people that are doing that. So that's going to be launching, I think, at Lake Wales High School very shortly. That was discussed at the EDC this morning. The other thing I think you do on a local level is invest in things like BizLink, the local business incubator. I will tell you that I think the churches need to be engaged in this sort of endeavor. How are churches working to get their people equipped to talk to them about the importance of having a work ethic and going out and earning a living, and that's part of what it just means to be a good citizen and a good part of a community. Now, on a more governmental level. Um, just last year, we finished a long range economic development plan in partnership with the Central Florida Development Council, where they came in and studied the whole area and they looked at the workforce that we have in place. They looked at the different industries that are interested in coming to Central Florida, and they've told us which ones we should be targeting, which industries we have the best opportunity to attract to this area. So what we have to do on a governmental level is we've got to try and create building inventory that those kind of businesses will need. We've got to try and create zoning and regulation that are friendly that are to bring them here, and we've got to try and put incentives in place that would make them want to come here rather than Ocala or Winter Haven, that we make them want to come to Florida to bring the kind of high paying jobs into our area that we need. Um, and I think that that's at least a beginning to the process. Government's not going to solve all those problems, but what
No,
government can do is listen to the private sector and be an anxious and ready partner for good ideas that arise from the local citizens.
absolutely. I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's why I pointed out workforce readiness, because if we're going to attract these types of business in here, Mayor Jack Hillegross has got to make sure he has the workforce readiness,
Mm-hmm.
and these guys can get these skilled jobs. Or say, for instance, like that's one thing that I've been like kind of questioning to the infrastructure of Lake Wells City's website. I
Okay.
think that it can be more geologically structured. You know what I mean? Like if you look at Lakeland's City of Lakeland's website, and say for
Mm-hmm.
instance I'm a business and I want to move to Lake Wells or Lakeland or whatever. Well, in Lakeland, I can go on that website real time, click an area on the map, and it'll pull up all types of data of that area, the zoning on it. It'll show you. You don't have to like, wait. So I could be holding on to 5 million. I want to come and invest in Lake Wells, but because I'm kind of reluctant to invest, and I got a time that I need to do it. I need to get
Mm-hmm.
this money and move it and make and go ahead and put it into place. So I need access to where I can say, oh yeah, man, Lake Wells, this is a great area right here. I can pull. They got property here, property there, property there. So I kind of question the infrastructure of our website here in Lake Wells
Okay.
the way that it's
Okay.
kind of, to me, it's kind of still like horse, mule and wagon type stuff.
Well, I would yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I'm not a website design expert, but you don't have to be an expert to understand how the food tastes, right?
Correct.
So, yeah,
Understandable.
I would say that yeah, sometimes the experience with the website's a little clunky.
Mhm.
So that's something
Mhm.
we certainly can work on, yeah.
Okay. Another question, because I hear a lot of guys harping. I've been seeing them on the media, social media,
Mhm.
just, I call it babbling because
Yeah.
it really doesn't have any structure to it. It doesn't really have any, motives or mission behind it.
Mhm.
The Northwest Improvement Project,
Mhm.
the sidewalks, the infrastructure.
Mhm.
What do you some folks have been complaining about some of but they've been complaining about everything, the whole
Yeah.
Envision program,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's nothing new. But
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess sometimes when things are happening in the Northwest community, people feel as if, I guess it should have more, we should bring more attention to it. We should highlight it more, being that it's a more impoverished area, so
Okay. Okay.
so I want to know what's give me your analysis on that, and give me what would be your answer to some of the folks that I guess have these impatient views about what's
Okay.
going on in the and kind of just give us a little bit more enlightenment on
Well, I think
how that project is going to go.
Well, I hope it does get more. I've not heard that, and I certainly think that that's worth thinking about. In that it's not getting enough attention, And I would say that's probably one thing we do need to work on. There's so much happening in the city of Lake Wales right now. I mean, just constantly new initiatives being undertaken, new programs, new pursuits that it's hard often to continue to. It's hard to make everyone aware of everything. And the northwest section of Lake Wales has been a real focus over the last few years. I mean, I think the last time I was with you, I listed about 16 or 17 different investments that amount to millions of dollars in the northwest neighborhoods. Now, they're not the real sexy ones yet because you got to get some of the infrastructure that's been neglected for too long taken care of. So, like a lot of that money has gone into upgrading and repairing and modernizing some of the water systems and the sewer systems, and so now just this last August of 24 is when we began the sidewalk and tree planting projects. And now within the next 2 years, if not next year, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't start in 2025, but I would say by 2026, you're going to start seeing the same kind of work on Lincoln Avenue that we just completed on Park Avenue with the Park Avenue and Market Street Plaza renovations. We got a $23 million federal grant, and Lincoln Avenue is one of the four streets that's targeted for that. So that's what I mean when I say some more of the glamorous kind of things will happen. Along with that, there's been investments in remodeling and updating about 35 to 40 homes in that neighborhood, as well as building a bunch of, well, 7 or 8 brand new homes. And I think I mentioned we just had the first developer that wanted to come in and actually do a small development in the northwest neighborhood. I don't think that's happened in decades. So
Right.
all of that is taking place, but we probably don't do a good job talking it up as much as we should. I've got to become better at a better champion of the things that we're doing in the city of Lake Wales.
Yes, sir.
I think I just spoke, and I can't remember where I was at, but I was able to say that in the quadrant of the CRA, which is the northwest section, property values have increased by 30% in the last 3 years, just because of the investments that's been made in that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and and this coming year, actually this summer, you're going to begin to see a big renovation take place in the Grove Manor neighborhood. That's something the city's been working with housing and urban development with for, oh, we've been working for at least 4 years to to secure the government funding we needed to make that happen. And the city placed $1 million behind that in order to help attract and secure the government funding. And we finally did it this last year. So in 3 phases over the next probably 5 or 6 years, you'll see all of Grove Manor modernized, brand new housing, brand new community centers, and all of that brought into that Grove Manor. But it begins with phase one this summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got to get your hand on that. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you for the diligent hard work because
Yeah.
notice what you said. You said the city put $1 million
Yeah.
to help make that grant happen.
Right.
And that's what it's about, investing in us. We got to learn how to invest in us. Nothing is just going to fall out of the sky.
Right.
Nothing is going, I mean, somebody's got to do it. Like this guy
Right.
Kendrick Lamar, he has this song. Somebody got to do it.
Yeah.
So absolutely, absolutely. I love
Well,
that.
and that's important too, Clem. I mentioned this a lot during the campaign. When the city makes investments, it begins to attract other investment. So for instance, one of my big priorities in the next 3 years is implementing our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which I think is on the city website now. And it calls for multiple millions of dollars to be invested in upgrading and modernizing our park and rec system. And it has things like a splash pad, an amphitheater, new sports fields, all
Right.
of the parks. And we don't, when you see that and you see the price tag, everyone could kind of laugh because there's no way that the city has that money. But we have enough to get started. And once we get
Absolutely.
started, what happens is grant money and other funding will come because we've seen that downtown. We invested about $18 million in the downtown and then had $23 million that came as a result. And I could give you examples like that, several of them. So,
Right. Gotcha. So the 18 million, where did that come from that you
That
invested that in town?
we actually had to secure our own financing. So that was a bond issue that we did through the city. So we're paying a mortgage on that basically. The city's paying a loan on that.
Wow. And so what parts of the infrastructure of downtown was that money directed to?
It was all of the renovations that you've seen on Park Avenue, running starting up by the post office and running all the way over to Scenic, everything
Gotcha.
that was done on Market Plaza. And I'm thinking I'm right on that number. So we secured a bond issue for that. But once we started, and all of these other agencies see that a city is serious about itself and is actually making those kind of investment, the raise grant that we received for $23 million
Right.
came as a direct result of them seeing us make that kind of investment in our city. So now we have
Right.
$23 million to do Orange, to do Crystal, to do Lincoln Avenue and Central Avenue because we did that initial investment. So that's the way it tends to work. And I think the same thing will happen with our Parks and Recs master plan.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And we did see that that 23 million that was awarded. I think I had it
Yeah.
on one of my slides here. Let's see. Just kind of so the listeners and the viewers could kind of see that you are not just blowing smoke.
Yeah.
This really did take place.
Oh, it was a
So
big
here we
deal.
go. Absolutely. Do we got it up there? Here we go, folks. Let's see here.
Yep.
There it is. Lake Wells, 23 million in complete streets grants for connected project. And I think that's what a lot of people are getting kind of misinformed about. Oh, they got $23 million grant, but they're not saying that this grant is specifically designed and directed for a certain type of improvement and growth, right?
Well, actually, yeah, it is that way. When that money is given to us, we have to spend it on projects that they've agreed to. So we do have to spend it on the four streets that they told us. So it will be Central Avenue, First Street, A Street, and Lincoln Avenue.
And who is they?
The raise grant came from the federal government, so it's something infrastructure. I can't. It raises an acronym for a government program that was enacted under the Biden administration.
Gotcha. Yeah. I saw that the infrastructure
Yeah,
improvement. Right.
rebuilding America
Yeah.
infrastructure, something like
Yeah, it's in
that.
it. It's in this art. It's in this
Yeah,
article. I think it's in this article right here. I
yeah,
did read that somewhere.
yeah.
It's somewhere in this
So
article.
usually
But yeah, man, that's awesome.
so
That is
when
awesome.
you get a grant like that from any organization, they're going to have some pretty strict requirements as to how it's spent. Um, Yeah,
Correct.
but still fantastic. I mean, when's I think I said on the campaign trail that in the last 2 years, Lake Wales has received $31 million in grant money. We've never seen anything like that before. So it's been a fantastic time for the city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I'm trying to tell
Mhm.
folks. That's why I'm trying to get us informed and make sure that, we can open up our mindset to see that, hey, this is another somewhat reconstruction era that we need to start taking
Yeah,
advantage of. And especially that's why I like to always stick to business. And speaking of resources, right? Like the
yeah.
raise grant and the CRA, right? Are there any other programs that you're expecting to come into the area that would more so be directed toward business redevelopment as something besides the CRA and something besides the original funding and resources that are in place? I mean, do you expect or do are you planning on engaging any other types of, maybe it be government, whether it be government, whether it be private resources that can come into the area? Because I know it's a lot of people coming
Mhm.
here, man. Because we literally have rush
Yeah.
hour every evening, every morning, and
Yeah.
every evening.
Yeah.
So if you can't see that as
Yeah.
growth, then you must have
Yeah.
blinders on. I'm just talking
Right,
in
right,
general,
right.
right?
Well, again, I'm not an expert on all of the grants that are available. What I'm learning is the process tends to be that a city has to show that they're doing good, diligent, well-researched planning first. And then they have to show that they're willing to make their own investment. There has to be some skin in the game. And then those agencies that are out there and those foundations that are out there that have the money and write these sort of grants usually respond to those sorts of initiatives from local cities. In other words, if a city's just sitting around writing grant requests but not doing anything, you're not going to get anything. So that's why I'm excited, and I talked a lot about this and still do, that Lake Wales City administration and government over the last 3 years has done a fantastic job of strategic planning. We invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into things like the Lake Wales Envision Plan, the Economic Development Plan, the Parks and Recreation Plan, the 180 Utility Service Plan. And all of those things are critical because once they're in place, they become an attractive part of a grant application that will bring funding into your city. So when you mentioned specifically
Mm.
business development, we just finished the long range economic development plan with the Central Florida Development Council. That's in place now, and I know that the grant writers that work for our city are using that, and they're constantly making applications to see if we can get that kind of money coming to our city as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is awesome. I mean, that is great. I mean, see, now we are communicating with the listeners, with the community. And I just hope that, going forward in the future, that Urban Matters BMG can be a voice, and we could also be a communication platform for Lake Wellians. And I just want to, thank you again, Pastor Jack. My next question. You also made a comment on some of your literature about green
Mm-hmm.
spaces.
Yeah.
Explain what that is and the further future development of green spaces, just for the listeners'
Well,
understanding.
and that's a big challenge. So that I can talk about that both on like a micro level and then on a bigger macro level. On a micro level, we just finished the Lake Wales Envision Plan in 2023, and it works both ways. In the Lake Wales Envision Plan, what we did was increase the amount of green space requirement that we ask for from every individual developer that wants to build in Lake Wales. So when they put a subdivision plan in front of us, a PDP, the amount of park space, the amount of green space that we want to see preserved in their development for their residents to use was enlarged. And the kind of landscaping and beautification we ask for from them was greatly increased, as well as we became Water Star certified a couple of years ago, which means that every developer that comes in has to use all sorts of water saving devices so that we don't use up that natural resource. So that's how it happens on a small level. One step up from that is the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We just had a great presentation from a group of students from, I think it's Stetson University in Winter Park.
Yeah, I saw that. I
Right.
think I saw that.
And
Yeah.
they brought us a great plan for using one of the parks that's been neglected here in the city of Lake Wales and turning it into a wonderful natural walking trail. So we're going to try and invest in that. Great plantings, walking trails, and things like that. How do we beautify the parks and the green areas of the city that already exist? And I think, if you see what Kevin Polk has and our horticulturists have done down in front of the library in the linear park and in the middle of the walking trail, that's another way we do it. And then the bigger thing is in the Lake Wales Envision Plan is how can we get big tracts of land around the perimeter of our city that kind of preserves a natural break between urban and rural areas. In other words, you don't just leave Winter Haven and wind up in Lake Wales, and you don't know you've left one to go into the other. How do we
Absolutely.
preserve a natural circle around our city and all of that? Now, if you look at the Lake Wales Envision map, even our planner, Mr. Dover, said it's a moonshot because the only way that happens is if somehow you can get people to donate land to the city. And we did see that happen. I think it was the Freelanders that donated a large piece of land that's going to be preserved forever.
Hmm.
Or you have to get people who are willing to invest their money to buy that property for the sole purpose of preserving the land. So that's a
Correct.
big deal. It doesn't happen very often, but if we can start casting the vision, you never know whether it'll take place here.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is awesome. That is so awesome. So, another quick question. We're going to wrap this thing up here
Okay.
shortly. Um, One of your statements on your election literature pamphlet said something about the fear of
Oh,
growth.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to articulate what does that actually mean and just kind of explain what it
Yeah.
is and where is it coming from?
Well,
From who?
I the fear of growth, I think, look, Lake Wales has been a little town for a long time, and it's had a way of life that people love. The people that grew up here, and I've been living in Lake Wales for almost 30 years now. I like this little town. I liked it when it was a little town. I like the way of life. I like the slow pace. I like knowing a lot of people. And when you see the growth that is coming into Polk County, you feel that slipping away, and nobody really enjoys that. And I get that. I understand that. Unfortunately, it's something that's coming whether we like it or not. I get upset when I see um, candidates or political hopefuls or just really agitators, for less of, lack of a better word, who play upon the angst that people that live here for a long time feel, um, to kind of stir stuff up and to get an agenda across. And they're what they're indicating is that somehow government can stop that growth from happening, and they really can't. Not in any way that's legal or ethical. And so what I want to do, what I want to say to our folks is the best thing you can do when you with this growth that is coming is make decisions that help your city benefit, because there are a lot of benefits that come from growth. Better jobs, better restaurants, better opportunities for your kids. So make decisions that help your city benefit as much as possible while minimizing, the impacts that you're going to feel from growth. And the other reason you'd better do that is if you're not proactive in the way that you approach growth and you try and stick your head in the sand and you try and act like it's not happening, it's going to happen anyway, and your city's going to get run over by it. But you won't reap any of the benefits, and you'll lose all your services because you haven't planned well to take advantage of it. That's a very general answer. I'd be willing to give anyone a lot more details, but that's generally what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, because I was just curious. I'm like, who would fear growth and what does that mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, we're growing, we're bringing economics to the community, we're bringing new life to the community. It would also entail bringing new citizens,
Right.
and that's got to be a good thing. As long as, like I keep saying, we can't run away from the younger generations. We
Right.
gotta make sure they're part of this. They impact the growth as well. So
Right. Right.
that's just my biggest thing on that. So yeah, I mean, you have several success stories out there. So I just want to point that out and keep reiterating
Yeah.
that you're pretty good. You're just about the best mayor I've seen in Lake Wales as
Well,
far
thank you.
as someone who has a track record and somebody that is demonstrating success.
Well,
So I
thanks,
gotta I
man.
gotta say that. I gotta say that. Yep.
Appreciate it.
So
Thank you.
yep, that we covered the sidewalks, we covered
Yeah.
that, we covered the and yeah, on that sidewalk. So what was happening, some of the contractors were doing the sidewalks,
Yeah.
but as far as their end result, they didn't really do the finishing work to them. Like, I guess that's what they were complaining about. I don't know if the guys were finished or not. All I just seen where they had laid it and made looks like it may needs to be addressed with some sod and
Oh, okay.
leveled out, the dirt that they dug up. And then they left, like, how sometimes they pour the last little bit of droppings out of their mixer and they just left it there.
Just
So
left it on pile. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
it kind of
okay.
rubs
Well,
some folks the wrong way, and they kind of
sure.
been kind of blasting it on social media, and I don't know what's gonna come of it, but I ran across it, so I just wanted to point that out to you.
Well, thank you. And it never hurts to be told about that. And I certainly will check into it. And I don't know this, but the only thing I could say is, and you may know, have they started the landscaping and tree planting along where they've done the pouring yet?
No, they haven't. No, that's
Okay.
what I was like. I was like, yo, they're not just gonna leave this and they got all of this project, for the improvement. They're not, that's come on, that was just the sidewalk
Yeah.
guys. Then the way that construction works, you come in with some more folks, they come in and do the horticulture and everything like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and, and that was another question I wanted to ask you. Like, it would be awesome if, like, we could get some of the local youth, or
Mhm.
maybe somebody to come out. Remember when we was talking about the apprenticeship
Yeah.
programs? We probably want to try to start looking and trying to engage some of that. It would be great if the people in the community can come out and
Mhm.
assist and maybe
Yeah.
even get employment or whatever. So I didn't know how that worked with the contractors that you already have in place.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought maybe, going forward in some of the legislation, maybe, in the future, we can start adding that, something in the actual legislation where if we give you this contract, uh horticulture man or cement guy,
Mhm.
you gotta train,
Mhm.
at least just train somebody. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Even if they didn't pay them, if they didn't have the finances to pay them, train these guys, and that could be part of. We could do it through the incubator or whatever.
Yeah.
Get these guys, get some of few of these guys and girls trained. Maybe get some of the girls up, some of our ladies in the office who can do some of the paperwork, and
Yeah. I know.
just to kind of get a hands-on
Mhm.
feel for how business is conducted on a
Right.
government level.
Well, there's possibilities there. I mean, it would have to be something the city does directly. You're right. When we
Right.
start working with contractors, there's all kinds of red tape, but there may be a
And
way
for
the city
every
can do
district,
something.
so
Yeah.
then so, okay,
Yeah.
downtown, you live in
Yeah.
the downtown district. Hey, we're gonna bring out a few young folks. Y'all come on in. We want y'all to be part of this project.
Yeah.
At least just throw
Just
a
a part
pitch.
of it
Yeah,
anyway.
just say,
Yeah.
just shoot a pitch to them and see what happens. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, let's see.
So
And I'll make you a deal. You've had me on your show twice. I will always be available. So if you need to have me on occasionally and folks have questions, specific
absolutely.
questions, I'll try and answer them. But the other thing is, let me give you some thought. You said if we do a town hall, we need an MC.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you can start. You and I can talk about UMC and some of those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then I can compile the data, a data list of things and just, concerns, and I'll keep it all organized and, keep a database of what we can do. And I think that could be a way that we're using technology to engage our community.
Yeah.
And it'll catch on. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's going to be positive. I know that, because one thing I've known about when you transform digitally into the new age, that's part of the transformation. I know everybody's scared of AI and this and that, but it's really some good perks to AI
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
technology. I'm telling you,
Right.
it just makes things smooth.
Yeah.
It does. And
Right.
that's great, man. So yeah, man, this been a great interview. I'm loving it. And
Mhm.
again, I want to let you know, congratulations.
Thanks.
You
Thanks.
covered that. You covered regular. You covered all the stuff I pretty much was going to ask you.
Okay.
You pretty much.
You said you want to talk about Walter.
Oh yeah. Oh, let's talk about Mr. Clayton. Salute to Walter Clayton. We
Yes,
gotta salute
sir.
that
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm excited. We didn't know that we would be able to get him because, he's become a real popular commodity in the last little
yes,
while. So, but
yes,
it just worked out that he's in town to see family so
yeah.
tomorrow. at going to start, I think, at 5. They're at 4th and Kissimmee and make their way. He used to walk that way over to Kirkland Gym to play.
Right.
So we're going to do a short little parade and get him over there, and then there's going to be he's going to take part in a ribbon cutting at the newly renovated gymnasium. I think I'm
Awesome.
going to be presenting him a key to the city. So he's
Absolutely.
he has done some fantastic things, and I think he's going to keep doing some fantastic things. And we're excited to be able to honor a hometown hero that way.
Exactly. I'll definitely be down there with the cameras, and we got to get
Good.
some footage on Waltram. How about my son? They grew up together. I know Walt since he
And
was just a
yeah,
little,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was a little munchkin.
I
So
think Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Thompson are actually going to give the speeches because they both have known Walter since he was a young man too. So,
yeah,
and I'll be presenting the key. But you and I were talking. One of the things that is just so amazing about the city of Lake Wales of how much
yep,
athletic talent has come out of this city.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
somewhere down the road, we need to talk about seeing how we honor that and remember that. I don't
Yeah,
think
we
we've
gotta
done very
highlight
well.
that. We gotta
Mhm.
we gotta find some way to highlight these guys and some way to keep that in the history books so
Yeah,
that even the younger folks that come along can embrace this and see that hey, we got a lot to be proud of here in
yeah,
Lake Wales, Florida. And it's just not that place where listen, when I grew up in Lake Wales, man, listen, I loved it. I mean,
yeah,
I played baseball, stayed in the little leagues in high school, played a little football, and see, we were from, but we grew up across 27. We on the other
yeah,
side, so we were in the
yeah, yeah,
county part of Lake Wales. That's where I
yeah.
was raised. My childhood home is over there,
Mhm.
and it was great. It was a great experience because we fished. We were like more like fishing, and we like to
Yeah,
go ATVing and four wheeling and hunting and stuff in the woods, and
yeah.
we were just outdoorsmen over there. So we were kind of built from a different cloth than a lot of people cross over town here, but
Yeah,
eventually we mingled across. I remember
yeah.
when I was young and somebody would tell me, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna get ready to go to the projects. And I would hear somebody say the projects. I thought that like it was some type of military base somewhere where they were going. Because I hadn't been,
Yeah,
I
you
really
know
because
that.
we had everything over there. We had grocery stores. We had no reason laundromats. We had no reason to go on the other side of 27 in
Right,
downtown.
right.
And then when I
Yeah,
did, I probably was so young when I just didn't remember
didn't
it. I
pay
couldn't
attention.
recall it. So
Yeah,
hey, that's just the way it was. But Lake Wells has always been a great place to raise a family, and that's the
yeah,
most important thing that we need to embrace, and we need to be proud of that. And that's
yeah.
a legacy. I think if we just come together and stop all this divisive mindsets and divisive thinking, and it's just like, and that's what my last question is, and I'm gonna let you get out of here, Pastor Jack.
Okay.
Do you think the tariffs that are going on now in America will trickle down and affect us here locally? And if so, how do you how do you plan on addressing that? And do you have a contingency strategy to help with that?
Yeah, it will. Everything trickles down eventually. What happened when DC sneezes, Lake Wales gets a cold. So,
Correct. Correct.
so yeah,
Correct.
it will affect us. And I don't think anybody. I think anybody that tells you they know how this is going to play out is probably blowing smoke. I don't think anyone knows how it's going. I'm not even sure that President Trump knows how this is going to play out.
Exactly.
I'm
It's a game of chess. It's a game of
Yeah,
chess.
it is, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, frankly. I
Hmm.
understand why people want it, but I see him carving out deals that make me feel like maybe it's more for the big guy and not for the little guys.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether Lake Wales is going to be negatively or positively impacted. I will tell you that we just it looks like we're going to get a company to build a warehouse and a manufacturing plant out at
Mhm.
Longleaf that is relocating here from I think Ecuador.
Okay.
So that may be a result of them not wanting to, fight because it's glass and aluminum, which are two products that are going to be under the tariff. But I got to tell you honestly, Clem, I don't have a good answer for that one yet. I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
And here's the thing that a lot of folks don't understand, Mayor.
Mhm.
Tariffs, if you really understand the design of them and the intentions for them, these other countries have twice, sometimes 3 times as much tariffs already on us.
Oh, yeah, there's
And
no
they're
doubt about that.
already doing business
Mhm,
with America.
mhm.
With the tariffs, it'll just kind of take some of the leverage and put it back in our court. And if we can bring manufacturing back, I seen he has Japan to the table. I think Italy was in the White House today. And I mean, he has a lot of these Central American countries. They're coming to the table. So while
Yeah.
all the yip yapping's going on, there's progress being made. And
Yeah,
so that's what I want to see for America. Because I got grandkids, man. Listen, it's
yeah.
not even about me. It's way bigger than me. Get what I'm
Mhm.
saying, Mayor?
Yeah,
It's way bigger than me. I'm not even thinking about knuckleheads my age.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking for the generation, the future generations. And if we cannot bring some type of sustainable manufacturing back to our country
yeah,
that the 1996 NAFTA trade agreement
yeah,
infringed on,
yeah,
we're not going to make it. We
yeah.
cannot even compete with some of these countries now because we don't manufacture anything
Right,
anymore.
right.
But
Yeah, and
yet
that
still there's a demand here. So you explain that.
well, and I agree with you 100%. I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but it can't do any worse than what we've been doing, and, so I think I agree with the philosophy, I agree with the motivation, I'm just not sure how it's gonna work yet.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's chess, and then you
Yeah,
got folks out here thinking about we're gonna get ready to play checkers. This is
yeah,
way above our pay grade, family.
right, right.
And listen, but we're gonna keep you here posted here at Urban Matters BMG. You best believe that. And we got Mayor Jack again. We got to salute you, Mayor Jack. You're doing a
Thanks.
great job. And
Thank you,
please
sir.
come back and join us. And we'll talk about that history project I'm working on.
Yeah,
Also, we're going to talk about in engaging our athletes and being able to highlight our athletes, our professional athletes. We have so many, Amare Stoudemire. We have so many people,
yeah,
baseball players, Pat Borders, a lot of
yeah.
the young folks don't know about. So y'all stay tuned here at Urban Matters.
Okay,
Pastor
thank you,
Jack,
Tim.
we appreciate it. Thank you,
See you,
sir.
man. All right, Captain, I'll talk to you later.